It's tight up here, but that's what hugs are for, right? I have a proclamation from the city of Atlanta, and I feel very personally connected to Rush. My great-grandfather, the Reverend James Bond, was the second pastor of the church, and my uncle, James Bond, is here somewhere in the audience. James, will you please stand? Where are you? There you go. You know, James, we don't have to sit in the back anymore. You could have sat up, you sit up in the front. Is the Langford family here? Michael Langford, I saw him earlier. And Susan Pease Langford. Susan's behind me. Well, I don't have eyes in the back of my head, but it's coming to see you. And where's Michael? Oh, right over to the right. So we've got all the families associated with Rush here today, and it is a dynamic church. It is a focal point, as you'll hear in the language of the proclamation, of the civil rights movement. But not only that, they've been saving souls and coming to the rescue of those in need for a century. And that's a powerful statement. It's probably one of the most historic places in the city of Atlanta that goes as an unsung hero and location for the work and the mission that this church continues to perform. And so today we have a proclamation to acknowledge the great legacy and history of Rush Memorial Congregational Church. And the proclamation reads as follows: in honor of Rush Memorial Congregational Church Centennial Anniversary, whereas founded by Dr. John A. Rush in 1913, Rush Memorial Congregational Church has played an integral role in Atlanta's civil rights history. And whereas in the 1960s, during the civil rights movement, Rush Memorial Congregational Church has served as a major focal point for the community meetings where leaders of the movement would gather to pray and plan. The church also served as the main meeting place for the Atlanta Student Movement and Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee when the member students were expelled from the college campuses. Whereas during its century-long existence, Rush Memorial Congregational Church has been the home church of several of Atlanta's most prominent pastors, including the Reverend Joseph E. Boone, a civil rights icon whose name now adorns the former Simpson Road, Georgia State Senator Arthur Langford Jr., for whom Highway 166 is now named, and Reverend James Bond, grandfather of Georgia State Senator and NAACP Chairman Emeritus Julian Bond. And whereas under the leadership of the church's current pastor, Reverend Lawrence E. Calvert Sr., the congregation has continued its commitment to being a guiding light in the city of Atlanta and a phenomenal source for winning souls to Christ. The ministry reaches far beyond the church's walls by providing hope to the hopeless, food to the hungry, and spiritual food to feed the soul. Whereas Rush Memorial Congregational Church has served as a haven of rest for many, many years and many weary workers in the struggle for freedom and equality, and a pillar of spiritual sustenance and guidance throughout the Atlanta community. It is why now, therefore, we, the members of the Atlanta City Council, on behalf of the citizens of the city of Atlanta, do hereby proclaim and hereby honor Rush Memorial Congregational Church on the occasion of its 100th year anniversary on this 7th day of October, in witness whereof we have caused our hands to set the seal of the city of Atlanta to be hereunto affixed. Congratulations, Rush Memorial Congregational Church.
Thank you, Councilman Barton. To the Honorable Mayor Seem Reed in absentia, President of the Council, Cecil Mitchell, the Dean of the Council, C.T. Martin, of course, Councilman Bond again, all other council members, elected officials, members of Rush Memorial Congregational Church, Susan Mitchell, Reverend Michael Marshall, and our interim person with us with the Southeast Conference, Randy McGovern. It is a great sense of appreciation, sense of pride for you. To nation for past ministers, and of course members and those who are serving with us. You have been, but it was Dr. John Rush who called it the People's Church. We like to think of it as being the People's Church.
It was Dr. James Bond, he has told you, his great-grandfather, who changed the name to Rush Memorial Church. Of course, much of that and most of that is still history that you can find in the newsprint for that day. A tree is known by the fruit it bears, so a church is known by the service it shares. I have with us today 3 persons who can really tell you, they told me to tell you just a minute, of the sharing and the impact that Rush Memorial Church had upon their lives. Of course, there are many more, but we won't take that time. I just want to thank you, thank the City of Atlanta, thank this august body, and all the members who are present with us today for giving us this recognition for our duties in civil rights, in social justice, and reconciliation. To God be the glory. Mr. Art Allen, Mr. Gregory Thompson, and Mr. Lonnie King. Give us just a vignette of the impact of Rush Memorial Church upon your life. They told me a minute.
1 minute will be. Thank you, Mrs. Boone. Recall, I think, has already been established. My name is Greg Thompson. I grew up in the shadows of the Atlanta University Center and Rush Memorial Church. During my days as a high school student at Booker T. Washington High School, I used to do odd jobs in the community. One of my jobs was cleaning up at night at Yates and Milton Drugstore. I would get to work at 10 o'clock at night and leave somewhere around 2 in the morning. On my way home, a dark and desolate street, there was only one light shining before I reached home. And that light shined at Rush Memorial Church. I'm happy to report today that that light is still shining. Soon, during that time, my friends and I were standing on the corner. A gentleman by the name of Mr. McFarland and a barrel-chested man who later we knew as Reverend Joseph Boone came by and invited us to become members of the Rush Memorial baseball team. Mind you, it came without any conditions. We did not have to be on the Sunday school rows, the church rows. All we had to do was get off the streets. I must confess to you that some of us used to make frequent trips downtown. But as a result of being on the baseball team, it gave us a sense of purpose. I often wondered what would make them go out of their way to make us members of a baseball team. And then I thought, as I grew older, that they really didn't go out of their way. It was really a pathway. For my Bible teaches me that most of the good works done not in the confines of a sanctuary with the stained glass windows and padded pews, but it was done on the outside. And I'm glad today, and I thank the Rush Memorial Church for being who they say they are. Thank you, Rush Memorial, and thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Boone. Let me begin by thanking the City Council for honoring all the different entities that you have honored, and especially am I proud to have you having honored Rush. I'm not going to talk long. Let me just give you an example of where I'm coming from. I was driving around the state here recently, and I don't think I could drive more than a mile when I did not see something honoring the Confederacy. And I thought about that for a while. I said, wait a minute. There's not enough honoring of the folks who broke down the Confederacy. And I want to just say to you that Rush Memorial is one of the places that fit into that second category. When Dr. Clement, bless his soul, decided that we had to leave, the movement had to leave his office for whatever the reasons were, we were without a place to go. And with thousands of students behind us and no office. But when I approached Joe Boone, I didn't know who he was. He was just out there changing the marquee at his church. And I explained to him my predicament. And I said, my name is Lonnie King, Reverend, what is your name? He gave me his name. He said, but I know who you are. Because see, at that time, folks, I was hot. Nobody wanted to know me at that time. Because I was upsetting the status quo by saying that there was something wrong with segregation. And you'd be shocked at how many people in this town who were white and black who did not worry that much about segregation because it was the way of life. It was the culture. Rush Memorial, under the leadership of Reverend Joe Boone, saved us from being evicted. And what many of you need to understand is that they let us come there, thousands of college students, for almost 5 years and charged us $0 in rent. $0. How'd you like to be somewhere for 5 years and not pay any rent? That's what Rush Memorial did for us. Joe Boone and his church understood that the time had come for the South, for Atlanta, to challenge segregation. And he believed that we were serious, and that's why he backed us with his church. So I'm glad that I've lived long enough to come here and speak on behalf of people who've gone on like Joe Boone, because we're standing on their shoulders. We're standing on their commitment. And I'm hoping that I can get as many people as possible in this town to join with me, because I want to get Rush Memorial placed on the National Register of Historic Places. I need your help.
Peace be unto you from my God, Jesus Christ. I'm a product of Rush Memorial School. In 1939, my mother carried me in there in the kindergarten. On a September day, it was raining, and the street wasn't even paved on Parson. So we kind of scuffled up the hill to get into this church. I didn't see a carousel, I didn't see swings, I didn't see all the things that you see now when you go to schools. Just an empty field. But when we entered the school, we was greeted by a staff of dedicated teachers. We saw so much love in their face. I think they would have had the devil call it 911. That's how much love came out of that place. There was no cafeteria, stainless steel, or a menu that we could order. I knew what I was going to have for lunch because it was in a little brown bag I had with me. But what I received at that school carried me to where I am today. I'll be 80 years old next month. I'm a Grady baby. Just a couple of blocks down the street I was born. So I know this city, and I know what the need was for this city. This church did the things that the book teach. It fed the hungry. It clothed the naked. It visited the sick. It did all the things that that book tells us that we should do. I received enough from that little school to carry me from Atlanta, Georgia, to the department head of a Sylvania Electronics company. I am a retired antique restorator, which the beginning of that training was right in that school. There was a gentleman there by the name of Mr. Workin. He had a workshop, a vocational workshop down in the basement where I learned to do hand carving and learned to repair furniture. And that's what I do today. When I came back to this town, I came back as a skillful, full-grown man that started at Rush Memorial School. I didn't accomplish it because I was smart or brilliant, but I was so blessed. And those blessings I received at Rush Memorial School. Thank you.
Well, before we conclude, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't hear from the Langford family. Susan? Well, they're so gracious, they keep deferring to one another. But we're going to insist, Mike.
I'll be very brief, which is uncharacteristic of me, Duffy. Let me just say this. This is a great day, and I'm so proud that the city has saw fit to honor Rush Memorial Church for the great works that they've done over the years. We're so honored to have been blessed to be a part of it. My late brother, Susan's husband, Arthur Langford Jr., served as the pastor, and the searches for Atlanta's missing and murdered kids was organized right there at Rush Memorial Congregational Church. And one of the things that Arthur used to say, of whom much is given, much is required in return. And that is the legacy of Rush Memorial Church, of whom much is given, much is required in return. Today I would encourage folk to go and do likewise. God bless you, Rush. Amen.
If there are no remarks from our colleagues, we'd like to have everybody gather up and we'll take a photograph.